What can we expect under, well, maybe one of the impediments to get out the vote or just to winning is the voter disenfranchisement as well, which was a big deal thanks to the Supreme Court, under the last administration, but where Eric Holder and Barack Obama were doing their best to fight some of these state moves. Now, with Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions, it's Katie bar the door, right? I mean, these states are going to be. We're going to see a lot more attempts, aren't we, to stamp down the vote?
Yeah, well, then that's clearly. I would argue that is really the essence of what the 2016 election was all about. It was really about trying to roll back the clock on the changes that are taking place in the country, in particular demographic changes. All this immigration talk. I mean, he wasn't talking about a wall against the Canadian border. Right. I mean, it's to stop.
Right.
This is to stop the Mexicans and people of color from coming into the country. And so that's part of it. And then the other part is the voter suppression piece in terms of really being able to try to make it harder to vote. And if we're a democracy and we want to have people participating, you should make it easier to vote. But there's lots of things. So one of the bulwarks, and there's been a lot of good work done by like Lawyers Committee of Civil Rights and the number of the voting rights groups. And they've had some successes in the courts, and so that's been very encouraging. Some of these district-level judges have been
they have called them out for being blatantly racist attempts to suppress the vote.
Like in North Carolina, Wisconsin, other places. So it is part of the issue. I do think we need to think about, is it possible to kind of leapfrog that opposition? And I think that the technological revolution makes it more possible, right? I mean, you can go to any Macy's in the country and show up, and they're reasonably confident you are who you are, and they take your card and your money. So why can't we have same-day voter registration everywhere, right? And we have the technological ability to do that. So that's where I kind of wonder, well, can we get, some people at Google to validate saying, yeah, technologically we could do this.
Sure.
And then we can kind of try to potentially leapfrog some of that opposition and whatnot. So, but I still believe that it's through organizing and information and educating people, we still have the numbers. I mean, there's more obstacles, but I think those obstacles can be overcome.
Yeah. I mean, all of those efforts to make it easier to vote or to encourage people to vote, as you mentioned, same-day voter registration, the early voting,
right?
Some of the Sunday voting, the rounding up. What is it? What's that phrase that they use? Pray and
souls to the polls.
Souls to the
polls.
Yes, sir. Yeah, souls to the polls. And all of those efforts, that the Republicans are really determined to reverse them.
Yeah, no, they try to find anything. They try to make it as hard to vote as possible, basically.
Yeah.
And so anything that reforms that have been put in place to make it easier to vote, they're trying to actually roll back.
With zero evidence of voter fraud to back them up.
Absolutely. But when have they needed evidence? Well, they have all the evidence they need, and the evidence that they need is that it works, right? So,
the evidence they need is that it doesn't exist, but they still assert it, right?
And, well, they're not constrained by what the actual facts are.
Right.
They have an agenda.